guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a little different than just filming me driving around. I've been trying to think of other things that I could possibly do to put out for content. So I figured I might as well do a little how-to on how to drive manual in a semi. This is for those of you who are beginners or already have your license and might not have a manual endorsement. You might have the auto restriction. You might feel a little intimidated at the idea, but it's really not super difficult once you get the hang of it. Once you get the idea of it down, executing it is a lot more simple than it seems. At first it can kind of seem like there's a lot of stuff to do, you know, clutch in, shift, rev match, this, that, and the other, and it feels like you're doing a lot of stuff at the same time. However, once you get the hang of it, once you start actually physically doing it, it just kind of becomes muscle memory and second nature. So to start, I'll just explain. So I drive an 18 speed. Right now I've driven a 10 speed and a 13 speed. A 10 speed is similar, or it's basically the H pattern you would have in your car. If you know how to drive stick in a vehicle, in a regular vehicle, it's the same thing. It's just an H pattern. You just end up doing it twice. And you have the little flipper on the front. So I'll put up a picture of the shift knob and everything. So with the 18 speeds and the 13 speeds, you have the flipper in the front to switch between your high range gears and your low range gears, and then the little splitter on the side, which allows you to split in between those gears to get a little half gear, which is where you get your 18 speeds from. Because basically what this is like I think it's like a 9, technically a 9 speed if you drive it with low. So when you're looking at the picture, if you go all the way left and down, that's going to be your low. So all of these gears have a high-low split. All the way left and up, that's reverse. All the way left and down, that's low. So you want to start in low if you're loaded, especially when you're pulling 32.5 tons of material like I am in this truck. And then right in the middle and forward, that's your first gear. Down back is second. All the way over and up, that's third. And then fourth is right behind third. Once you get to fourth, you flip up the flipper in the front, go back to where first gear is, and then that's fifth. And then sixth, all the way over up, seventh, and back down is eighth. And then once you're in eighth, like we're on the highway right now, I have my little splitter forward. That puts you in 18th gear, your highest gear, and then you're cruising, ripping down the highway. So that's the pattern explained. A 13 is the same thing. It's just you don't split the lower gears. You only split the high range gears. And the gears the ratios are a little different, but that's all above my pay grade. I'm not entirely sure what the different gearings and things like that are. So when you're first starting out, you have your brake set, and you put your foot all the way down on the clutch, and you can put it in either low if you're loaded or first if you're unloaded. Release your brake, set, and then put your foot on the service brake. And the difference between these trucks as driving other vehicles that I've driven when I learned how to drive stick is you can let out the clutch and the truck will crawl. It won't stall out. It's got enough low end torque to pull itself forward. So then once you're in your gear, slowly let off the clutch until you feel the truck bite. You feel the clutch bite and it starts to want to go forward. You can let off your brake because that'll keep you from rolling backwards, and then just slowly let out your clutch and the truck will roll forward. Then you can go through and do your gear changes. So when you first start out, if you don't already have the endorsement, I believe in order to pass, you need to double clutch on your exam. So when you're changing gears, if you're going from first to second, you push the clutch in until it engages, pull the gear out into neutral, and then push the clutch in again and pull it into gear. It seems like it's complicated, but it's really not. Same thing goes for downshifting. But with downshifting, because the these are unsynchronized transmissions, you have to rev match. So the shifting points can vary from truck to truck, but usually, like in this one, I'm shifting around 14 to 1500, maybe a little bit more if I'm trying to get up to speed. And then take your time, because if you're going too fast, the RPMs won't fall enough, and then you'll be grinding. Grinding's okay when you're first starting out. Grinding's okay once, I still grind gears. Once you've been driving, I still grind gears. Not as much, but I still grind occasionally. You know, sometimes I don't give it enough of a rev or things of that nature. So once I get back into town and I can actually do some shifting, I'll show you guys what I mean. But once you get that down, it's really not too difficult, and you'll start getting a lot more confident and comfortable. Then once you get the hang of that, you can start trying to float gears. Now, I always recommend floating to everybody. My trainers always recommended it as soon as I found my groove and shifting and I started getting the patterns down. And basically with these transmissions, what you do is you drive it like you normally would, except when you go to shift, instead of pushing the clutch in, you can just pull the gear out and then put it back in the next gear. And in the long run, especially for like close or city driving, or you know, lights and stuff like that, it's a lot easier on your left knee. And you know, you're not sitting there chugging. You can just float through the gears seamlessly once you get the hang of it, and it makes your life a lot easier. And you can downshift the same way. Now, once you're on the road, like on the highway or in driving around locally, wherever you are, it can be a little intimidating. You know, you might not find the right gear. It might take a little bit for you to get in, slow down, and you know, you don't always have to go right down to first. If, say, you're slowing down, you're in fifth, the light changes to green, you can swing it over to third, or vice versa. You can choose whatever gear based on your speed. And I was a little intimidated at first, but you don't have to worry about it. Once you start doing it more and more, you'll get a lot more comfortable with it, and you'll start doing it, and it won't be as scary, if you will. But that was my big issue, was I could upshift fine. My issue, and I had trouble with downshifting, the rev matching. But if you have a yard where, you know, you're at a company where they have some autos and manuals, you know, go out in the yard, mess around with the truck, get up to fifth or sixth, and then downshift down all the way to first, and just do that a bunch for a little bit if you've got some free time. Once you're approaching an exit, you want to start braking beforehand. Use your jakes if you have them, and then you can pick whatever gear you need to go into and just go through the gears, slow down, and you'll get the hang of it. The other thing I found when I first started driving is you can be intimidated to leave the jakes on while you're shifting. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you don't need to flip them on and off all the time. You know, real truckers just leave it on. Well, when you're first starting out, it doesn't matter. Oh boy, stay in your lane, buddy. It doesn't matter. Learn how you want to learn. You know, if you're comfortable, turn them off, and then you know you need the jakes for an off-ramp or something, turn them on. But once you get the hang of it, like now, I've trained myself, I started practicing and playing around with it. I can learn to shift floating the gears, leaving the jakes on. So when you're shifting when floating, so right now you can hear that I'm giving it fuel. But if I let off, now I'm coasting. If I let it off a little more, jakes. So there's that fine line between throttle, coasting, and when the jakes actually engage, to where you can downshift without letting your foot completely off and letting the jakes kick on. Now, the nice thing about the splitters with the 13 and an 18 speed, I think the 15s have them too, I've never driven one, is you can use them for, say, like going up a hill and you don't want to take the truck out of gear and put it into another one, and you know, it might be scary. You might think that you'll miss the gear and then be stuck. So all you're doing is when you're going up the hill, you push it forward, let off the throttle, and then back on, and it'll put it into that next gear. The same thing goes for downshifting it. So if I'm going to downshift from 18th to, say, 8th, I can just click it, throttle, goes up, and now my RPMs go up, and now I can go forward, push it forward, let off, back in 18. So you just got to play around with it and get the feel for it. Like I said, once I get back locally, I'll film while I'm going through the town roads with the stoplights and stuff like that, and I'll give a little bit better of an explanation. All right, so as we're coming up to this exit, I'll start slowing down and downshifting to try and show you guys. I wish I had a camera angle for down below as well, so you can see what my feet are doing. I don't know if it picks it up good from back there. So see, I double clutched. Now I can go back on the throttle to stop the jakes. Put on the brake. Clutch in, out of gear, and back. So then as we're coming up here, I'm going to downshift again, so I'll float this one, so then we'll go into fifth. And we're in high fifth, so I'll pull the splitter back. Now we're in fifth. Now I'll float to sixth. Going up to about 1500. Now we're in seventh. And then this road's at 40, so I'll push this splitter forward. Let off. And now we're in high seven. And it's as simple as that. Now, when I first started, when I was downshifting for off ramps and stuff, it was not like that at all. I'd be sitting there and, you know, it'd be grinding, trying to get it into gear, trying to slam it into gear. And you start to panic a little bit. Like there was a little bit of a grind right there. It was a little, because it wasn't perfect. And that's okay. So I'll pull the splitter back and see, it grinds a little bit. Now that happens occasionally. Now like I said, I don't claim to be no superstar trucker. I'm no professional. Splitter forward, let off the throttle, and back on 7 high. When you're trying to shift quickly, it's a little like you'd be sitting there clutching to bang through like all the way up to fifth, because when I'm in fifth gear, I think I'm doing like 15 miles an hour. So from 0 miles an hour to 15, I'm going through 5 gears. So if I'm double clutching every single one, you can see why it starts to get annoying. Now, unfortunately, you have to do that for your test, but once you pass your test, you can double clutch if you want, but if you want to float, then you can do that too. I still double clutch occasionally, like going up a hill when the engine's under power. Sometimes it doesn't want to come out of gear when you try and float it, so I'll just use the clutch to pop it out and then put it into the next gear. And you start playing with it, and you'll get the hang of it. Like those ones were a little rough. That one slid right in. So right here, if you just slowly give it a little throttle, I don't know if you can hear it catching and not going into gear. You just give it a little bit, just hold it there, and then it'll slide right in. So you don't have to sit there going. You can just lightly hold it if you know what gear you need to be in, and just give it a little bit more fuel, and then you'll be good. These are just the little things that I've been taught and really helped learning how to drive. I definitely feel I'm a lot better of a driver now than when I first started, and that's all with practice. If you're driving the truck every day, you'll be able to learn and teach yourself and start playing around with things to see how the truck shifts, what RPMs it likes to be at for certain gears, what gears you can be in to cruise. Like I'm in 8th gear right now. I don't have the splitter forward. This is a 45-mile-an-hour road. I'm doing 45 and I'm sitting right at about 1300 RPM. So if I put it forward, let off, now I'm sitting at 1100 doing the same speed. Whereas the other truck that I drive, I want to be in 18th with the splitter forward when I'm doing like 40. It's just the way that the truck is geared, the rear end. And it can shake a little bit. It might not be as graceful. Mine still aren't all graceful, like that one coming back out. But you just get the feel of it, and you'll get better with time. The other thing when driving a manual is this light's been green, now it's turning yellow. You want to be aware of the stale green lights. See, that was a grind. Because they could change at any second, and like when I'm loaded, I can't stop as good. So now I got the clutch in, and if you're trying to get it and it won't go into gear, push the clutch all the way down, and that'll initiate the clutch brake, and it'll stop the gear from spinning. So now I'm in 5th, and I was doing 15. So when you're going up a hill, when you're downshifting, you have to give it a little bit more RPM than you usually would. And that's like going downhill, you have to give it a little less. So now we're in 6th, coming up. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit more oomph. All right, so we're loaded. So what you want to do, put the clutch in, all the way down for the clutch brake, over and back. You can let up on the clutch a little bit to get it to move, and just slowly let your clutch out. Now we're in 1st. 2nd. So we're going to start in low. So when you're floating, you don't have to use the clutch. It just floats right in. And it's the same thing as double shifting. Clutch, clutch. Just use that in your mind. Clutch, clutch. Flip your tag down, and now you're on your way. I just pulled it out and back in. And it's almost effortless. We're in 5th right now. Put the splitter up. Back into 6th. So you can see all of those shifts were pretty clean, except for that like 1st or 2nd one. It's a little rough. But all you do is just let the clutch out slow, get it to about 1500 RPM, and just let off the throttle, pop it out, pop it in. Kind of slides right in when you're at the right RPM. And then I'll just pump this splitter forward, let up, back on, and now we're in our highest gear for cruising down the highway. So I hope you guys were able to pull some information and a little bit of knowledge from this video on how to shift an 18 speed. If I need to dive deeper into it, I'd be happy to do that. Like I said, there's many ways to do it. You know, everybody's got their methods. I just figured I'd change up the content a little bit than just being me driving. So if you found it helpful, leave a like.